Konnichiwa, hello, happy Labor Day, everybody. I am your host, Dave Prime. You have reached episode 76 of the OG Technically track. And filling in for the alien Captain Katie this week, over there on my right is Travis, the president of the UFP. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. I'm doing wonderful. It's the first day of September.
Oh, good
Here in the
grief.
US, we're celebrating, in a sense, Labor Day, which is Labor Day is the like the unofficial ending of summertime for us transitioning into autumn, then into fall and stuff. So, we getting ready to get into the period where the hot weather is gonna be gone, and a lot of people are thrilled about the warm, crisp weather that's coming our way and stuff, which I can say after a while, you want the change of weather.
Yeah. Or as they say in another franchise, winter is coming.
Wow,
Uh, but
absolutely.
but yeah, it's almost like here in the springs, it's like they just flip the off switch because it's going to be like in the 70s and low 80s for the foreseeable future, which I am low key grateful for. Saying the new studios here, technically Trek, it's still a slight work in progress because life gets in the way, and oh boy, life got in the way yesterday. I don't know if I want to share about it on screen or not, but needless to say, I nearly lost my shit because someone threw away a can of twisted tea in the garbage in the foyer out here, and I was just like, yeah, this is not a frat house. This is a sober house. And I mean,
Yeah.
I was out doing picking up a customer, and I came straight home. I just had an armful of UAs that I just pounded on the doors. Get the fuck out here! What the is this going on? This what? And I I think I put the fear of God in everybody.
You that house manager, so you have to show
The
your
authority.
authoritative figure. Yeah, you got to be like the captain of the house and stuff
Oh,
because
yeah.
setting standards is your responsibility.
But as it turns out, is a one of the newer residents, God bless his heart, he's been doing a lot of, like, cleaning up out in the alley and whatnot in front of the property, and there's a saying in the rooms of AA that you gotta keep your side of the street clean.
Ah,
He
yeah.
kept ours a little too clean, so he swept up a couple of empty cans and threw them in the trash, not thinking anything of it. But
Hmm.
yeah, that would be bad if we had a surprise inspection and they say, "What's this in the garbage?" Say we could
Uh-oh.
all, yeah, that's like, yeah.
Uh-oh.
So it's like, yeah, in the
Yeah.
future, you see something like that, throw it in the dumpster out on the street. Then no one sees it, no one knows it. Everything's fine, everything's good, everything is great. Do have a house meeting to go to tonight, say, but some of them are at AA meetings right now. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, say, but I'm thinking
You,
this
you,
might
you know
this.
something? I was gonna say today is September 1st, correct?
Mhm, correct.
So to you and anybody who's listening and who will be listening to this and stuff, and the people in chat, I see Sixer
Mhm.
and Mala, thank you and welcome
Oh,
and stuff. Happy Labor Day to all and everything. So today, you'd be surprised. I got a little fun fact about today. Not a fun fact, but I got a little fact, a historical fact about today that somebody like myself and Dave, I kind of remember. I don't know if Dave remember, but on this day in 1985, there was a gentleman named Robert Ballard. Robert Ballard discovered the Titanic remain in the North Atlantic. After
hmm.
decades and nobody couldn't find the Titanic, he found the Titanic. And I remember as a kid, it was broadcast on the news, and I was just about I was probably 6. I was around 6 because my birthday's in October. So I was about 6 or something like that. And I kind of remember seeing on the news that the Titanic was found because I remember there was a movie called Raise the Titanic.
Mhm.
And that was an interesting movie called Raise the Titanic. But this year marked 40 years. 40 years that the Titanic was found in 1985. And she looked a lot different than what it looks now, because of course the corrosion and the rusticles and everything else and stuff. But and it's one of those things where the ship looks so different. It kind of looked cleaner than it did 40 years ago, because
Mhm.
hey, because of the the sea, the ocean and stuff like that, so it's crumbling in on itself and stuff. But one thing I learned too, not to get too off subject and stuff, but Robert Ballard expedition was funded by the United States Navy. They did not.
Mhm.
It was kept very highly secret for many decades, and it wasn't revealed until years later that the United States Navy funded his search for the Titanic, which was pretty interesting to know that the United States Navy funded his, expedition.
No, and I got a little bit of trivia too that I actually got you off guard because I mean, honestly, say you mentioned said I got to watch the post credit scene. I was like, oh, there's a post credit scene, cool. And in case any of you watching didn't know about it, say watch it again. We're going to talk about it at the end of the episode, but a lot of people think Ferris Bueller's Day Off was the first movie that did any like post credit scene type of thing. But the first one was a 1966 spy spoof movie, The Silencers, starring Dean Martin, which they just totally did a spoof off of, like the James Bond will return at the end of a James Bond movie.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuffs me, because the first thing I thought of, because I grew up in the '80s and remember seeing, was Ferris Bueller Day Off, because that little post credit scene type thing.
Hmm.
But I never thought to look and double check and see, was that the first in like a movie or a TV thing where they had like a post credit scene type thing, where before then it wasn't really heard of. But wow, you got me, Dean Martin. The movie that he was in, Dean Martin.
Yeah, see, now just thinking about it. See, I didn't even think of it at first, but there's a meme that kind of ties in Ferris Bueller's Day Off with Star Trek Generations when Captain Harriman's saying, "All engines full reverse," and then the car just goes crashing out of the back of.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, see
yeah,
if I can
absolutely.
find that. And the answer Sixers question, no, I have not. I have had again chaotic week, still trying to get all this stuff all straightened up, but I do plan on watching them all, I promise.
It's
But
same with me too, Sixer. I've been a little busy and stuff and everything. I've been trying to do my best to get caught up on, the Defiant and stuff and everything, which I still really enjoy watching the first episode.
yeah, same. But two big things. Of course, the first big thing, big shout out to one of my partners, Dubby Energy Drinks. They have a lot of great flavors for you to choose from, including I have to look again. I think they are starting to sunset Grandpa's Denture Water, so I want to try and jump on that flavor before it gets discontinued. But yeah, they got a lot of other great flavors. It's kinda catered more towards gamers, but they do help streamers as well, such as Technically Trek. So anyone that goes to w.gg and uses the discount code TechTrek, TEKTREK, you do get 10% off any non-bundled order. So there is that. So that being said, say one thing that makes this show unique from other Star Trek podcasts, because they all have like all the talky things, and I'm pulling a Katie there, all the talky things, all the chats and whatnot. Then we read them live on the air. With Technically Trek, you can actually pop in on camera and say what you want to say live with us. Either if you're camera shy, you can just have your microphone on. That's not a problem. But since a lot of our regulars aren't able to attend tonight, since like Katie's out of commission, uh, Phil he's with family, even though he's Canadian, he's off with family this weekend. and Tyson's doing some volunteer work. So we have 8 open slots available for you to pop on. But we do at least have one Canadian in the chat. We do have the Lady Mala. So hello, my dear. And well, you're on vacation. I mean, you're in chat, Phil, but you can't be on camera. What the heck, dude? So you just pop in for a minute to say hi if you can. But
Phil. I love Phil.
yeah, we all love Phil. I've known Phil for well over 2 decades. Let's say we go back to over 20. I want to say closer to 25 years. So at least late 98, 99, maybe even sooner than that. But
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, so yeah, he and I have known each other for a while. We have yet to meet in person. Hopefully one day soon.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so pop on in if you're camera shy, or like I said, if you just feel comfortable doing the chat. The chat is fine. So with
Quickly, give us a like and thumbs up if you enjoy our segment each episode and stuff that we talk about. We got 2 more episodes, right, Dave, for Strange New
correct.
Worlds.
And then we're
We
going
will
to
be
start
back.
going. I don't know if we'll do a hiatus for maybe a week. I don't know yet, but we're going to jump right back into talking about the Berman era episodes, and I'm thinking I'm going to stick with what we were going to do before we started doing Strange New Worlds and talk about characters in the Star Trek franchise, and we kind of had to put Tom and B'Elanna on the back burner. So I think we're going to talk about Tom and B'Elanna on there.
Okay.
Might we did do a Dax episode a while back. We might talk about Dax, but maybe if we get lucky and might get a certain person that played Dax come in on the show. Say
Hopefully a special guest in the
Kay's worked
future.
her magic. She knows people that knows people. So fingers crossed. That would be freaking phenomenal if we could get someone like Nicole DeBoer on there, because not only was she, uh, the, I knew her when she started playing Esri, but then she was in a movie. Like, full disclosure, a lot of people, I don't do horror that well. I don't watch a lot of horror movies, but The Cube is one of the horror movies that I got to watch, and Nicole DeBoer was in it, and she did a great job in that episode, in that movie. And oh my God, Phil has actually made an appearance. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing? I'll just pop in for a few minutes. I can't be real long. The guys are like off swimming or something in the pool, and I didn't feel like
Yeah, so the
I didn't like
weather's nice
chlorine.
in
So
out that area right now because we had Zach
oh, it's beautiful.
backstage earlier. He's just chilling by
Oh.
the river between
Yeah,
Ohio and
yeah, he's chilling
Kentucky.
by the Ohio River. How's things with you, Phil?
Not too bad. It's I don't know. It's just been busy. It seems like I have to work every bloody Monday, so it's just the timing's been bad. But otherwise I'm holding on okay.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you definitely let your hair grow on a bit there too. You
I did.
shaved. I
I
got my
desperately need a
cut. Yours
haircut.
is
Oh yeah, I was trying to get this block out. I thought I'd give you a quick. The guys locked the door. I'll give you a quick look at the view out here. But yeah. So
whoops.
We lost Phil for a
It was
minute and
so.
stuff. There.
It was.
Oh,
lost me. There we go.
Hello.
I was
Somehow
trying to.
standing and dropped the signal.
I was trying to. This is normally the skiing slopes out here in
Mm,
the winter, but
right
anyways,
on.
yeah, we got a
wow,
nice area out here. So
Well,
absolutely.
since your time is finite, what are some of your thoughts of this episode, or did you get a chance to watch this episode?
yeah, I did. I did. I didn't know there was a post-credit scene though. Until Travis messaged me and told me. So I don't know about it. I'm gonna have to when I get home. I'll have to rewatch the
Yeah,
episode.
yeah,
I
because
had.
I knew looking at the run time for the episode, I knew something was up, but I didn't
Mhm.
think that was it. And thinking, but it's
Okay.
it's Patton Oswalt and Ethan Peck. That's all. That's all. The
Okay.
only spoiler I'll
All
give.
right. I'll have to go home and check. But
But
You're going
yeah,
you're going to be laughing. That's what I'm going to say. I'm
okay.
going to let everybody know the post credit scene is going to make you laugh.
yeah,
It
and
is
I
going to
All
think
make
right.
you. It's going to
Okay.
make you laugh.
yeah, and I sent
I
three texts to Travis after I watched it. It's like, oh my God.
said, "I take it that you caught up with where I was at and everything." The post credit scene. He said, "Yes,"
Yeah.
and I just busted out laughing. I was just like, "Oh." And you know what? I never see that in Star Trek, but it was just so hilarious. It was
Okay.
just, it's just so random that they would do that. It was like, where did this come from? You know? I mean, it just kind of it just put a big smile off. Even though I've
All
been
right.
a critic of Star Trek, uh, Strange New World and the new stuff in Star Trek, there's still stuff about Star Trek that can make me laugh.
Yeah.
Like the engineer Palia. She still can make me laugh with
Oh,
with some of the things she said in this particular episode. I was like, oh
no,
goodness, if this
see,
doesn't bring back Star Trek 4.
I think she was low key getting off on that inoculation, even though nothing happened to her.
Well, she said what she meant was what she say, because I remember Kirk said it about Spock about trying LSD in the 60s and then in the 90s.
LDS.
Then
Yeah.
last Thursday, or
By the way, I just found this out, and maybe I'm trying to remember, Dave, if maybe you mentioned this back in February, and I just don't remember. I didn't know that in Star Trek 4, and I don't want to go too far off topic here, but
it's
the
technically
wo-
Trek.
the woman who when Chekhov is looking for the nuclear
Hmm.
vessels, and the woman stops and says, "Oh, I think it's across the bay in Alameda."
Hmm.
And she kind of became famous for a little while for the woman that just popped on. I didn't know she just passed away in February.
Oh no.
I had
Really?
no idea until I read that. Yeah, I heard she had just
Uh,
passed away. There isn't a lot on it, or to say other than it said it passed from natural causes. But I had just found that out, and I thought, oh no, because she was being like invited to conventions as guests.
Mm. And like a
Yeah,
lot of
so
those like little shorts on say, did you know in Star Trek 4, blah blah blah.
yeah,
And they've been talking about her a lot lately because the only reason why she was in that movie is because her car got towed when they had
yes,
because they were shooting a scene.
because they were
And to
shooting the
pay
movie.
and to pay for the ticket, she's got a bit part in the movie.
As an extra. Yeah.
that you know what? It's so funny that stuff like that can really, something bad happened to her actually turned around to have a good effect, a cause and
Mm,
effect, and it turned out to be a
yeah.
positive effect. And then
Okay.
for she's part of Star Trek lore, in the sense Star
Mhm.
Trek lore and stuff and everything else when it comes to people who have seen Star Trek 4. And now that you mentioned that she passed away and stuff, it's unfortunate and sad to hear.
It is,
But
yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that she became, just a few words, and she just became this, kind of
Took off
funny,
more. Yeah.
like, yeah. Oh man. Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
I
but
was
yeah,
sad to hear that.
talking about Pelia again though, they're talking about the 60s and the 90s and just did a
Mm.
just went to Pike's like, and he just left her hanging, and she's like, and he's just
Oh.
A joke in this. There was a lot of joke in this
Mhm.
particular episode and stuff and
Oh
everything,
yes.
because
Yeah.
they started off heading to it was a shore leave. They
Hmm.
was heading to, planet shore leave, and then they had to make a detour to fix a nuclear reactor,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
And
they
which
that's
had
is kind of
where
to
like a prime directive, not prime directive situation, and it's just
station
like
right.
the loophole.
no
They refer to it
loophole.
as the loophole.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They refer to it as the loophole because the Vulcans, made contact with them first before the Federation and
Right.
stuff and everything, before all the rules and stuff and everything. I like that, but the whole thing, it really what got me in a sense when they gave the shots, or the injection, I should say, to the members of the Way Party. One thing that kind of annoyed me was when they was out of frame and they was going through their changes, and looked like they was going through and stuff like that, like, oh, they're metamorphosis, whatever. And then all of a sudden you see the camera started panning and going side to side and everything else. I expect their ears to change, eyebrows, yeah, but their hairstyle, I'm like,
That was
how
my thought
quickly,
too.
like,
Perfectly. Like
I was just like, come on, how powerful is this injection to do your
Yeah.
hair up like Vulcans and stuff? I'm like, what kind of injections are y'all taking and stuff to make y'all look like to be like Vulcans and stuff? And I was just like, I just kind of gave it like, really? I mean, I can understand they keep the hair, but like the ears or something, but like,
Yeah.
really? That's kind of my like little niche I had about this particular episode.
I
Was
had
like,
I had some mixed feelings on this episode. There was definitely some fun moments in that, but I
Yeah.
did overall have kind of mixed feelings on this one. So I
tell
probably
us
wouldn't say it's
tell
up
us
there as
real
a
quick.
favorite, but what's that?
Go ahead and tell us real quick why we got you on here.
Just I thought. So I know it was like I know some people are going to grumble because it's another humor-based episode.
Hmm.
So I know some people are going to
Mhm.
probably grumble about that. I had the same thing as you. I thought the same thing. What kind of serum did they take that it actually does your hair for you? Apparently as well. Some of them I'm not sure if I didn't. I know they're supposed to be Vulcans, but whoever the actor that plays Pike,
Ensign Mount.
he played it very almost robotically. I thought Vulcans aren't
Yes.
robots. He was just too stiff and rigid about it. I thought
I
was a bit
agree.
odd. So some of the yeah, I also thought the whole episode was going to be about them posing as Vulcans down on the planet and what was going
Yeah,
to be
not
involved there. But the fact they were done and came back and it was, I don't know. I kind of was hoping it'd be more about what goes on in this other world with other aliens, and that was kind of
yeah, even Una was like,
Also, too,
"You're done already?" He's like, "What the heck?" He was like, "Before opening credits."
when they was going to the planet and they was going through their
mm,
change when they went through their change and stuff like that,
mm,
I guess it enhances their perspective on logic, and they became more Vulcan. And
right,
the humor that they kept, you could see from what we see, the humor, and not the humor, but the jab that they keep throwing at Spock about him
mm,
being half Vulcan and half human. And they basically use logic to basically said he shouldn't be part of the away team because he is half human.
yeah,
And they point out, all the little technical aspects about his half human part being a handicap in the system. That's what I like to say is a handicap and everything else. And you could tell it annoyed Spock. He was frustrated and
yeah,
annoyed that these humans who got transferred into Vulcans had a more understanding grasp in a sense of using logic, to their advantage. And they used it in a way where they were, and Katie was here, smug, arrogant, pricks and stuff and everything. And they made them really come off as arrogant, smug pricks and stuff and everything else. I
mhm,
mean, they was really sharp in their, superiority complex about, the things that others did not,
right,
comprehend and stuff. And it was really interesting, like you said, Dave, about how, the captain came off almost robotically,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
you
I noticed
know.
that
I
right
think
right off the bat with the
I
opening
think they
credits, just
played.
like space, the final frontier. It's like
Um,
my skin crawled just a little bit with that,
See,
to be
my
honest.
my thought is too is, and I don't know, what's involved with the serum that they took, but for a Vulcan to be a Vulcan also took, um, I mean, from birth they are immediately trained. They go through a lifelong training process to
Hmm.
suppress their emotions and to develop their intelligence, and this serum just kind of does it like that. So I know it's the future and all that, and I had to kind of wonder like how really what does this really do to you, and are the effects long lasting, and does it like what? So yeah, it was and it like kind of left me scratching my head on some of that. So.
On that same
Yeah,
same note, Phil, was that was a little stump too, in a sense where they really, in a sense, show us about, like, Vulcans, and how the Vulcan brain works versus how human works. How human brain works. Like Spock, he's half human, he half Vulcan. So you look at it like that. They kind of threw out some jabs at him at being half human, and about like the criticism, like we seen over the course of different Star Trek, about like uh half. I don't want to use that word, but like a half breed species, like a Vulcan and a human being, and Vulcans view you know humans in a not so pleasant way. There are some Vulcans who look at humans as why would we want to mate with anybody that's kind of inferior to us when it
Yeah.
comes to logic and stuff and everything. And I look at it
Kind
like
of look
this.
down their noses a little bit. Yeah.
Really. And then I look at it in the general. I was like, you know what? I took a step back and I was like, say if this was real world, let's put ourselves in a real world applicant and everything else. We humans, we are humans. We don't have another species on this planet in the sense of like humanoid species that you know uh we get along, or space, or just like the Greys, if they talk about the Greys and stuff and everything.
I may have to
When
interrupt. I
it
think the guys are just coming back. I'm going to keep watching though for a little while, but I'm going to have to go because they're going to come through and there's coming in from the pool. But I'll keep watching. I want
okay,
to hear the rest of what you got to say. So,
okay,
Thanks
well,
for
thank you for
popping
stopping
in,
by,
Phil.
Phil. Thank you.
so yeah, it was nice to
um
step in for a little bit.
and you be safe and take care.
I will. All right. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
What I was saying, like, you I look in the real world aspect.
I
You
think
know,
There we go.
are you there, Dave?
I'm still here. I think Phil's still here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe not.
He's not.
As a,
Well,
yeah, but no, Mala brought up a good point. Just the humans being rather off is because there's just the lack of emotional suppressive training. So I mean,
exactly.
but
Exactly.
that's definitely something that I want to touch base on. But I'll let you go first.
Well, I was just looking at it like this. You know how they kind of pointed out to Spock about his being a half human and half Vulcan and stuff and everything else. That's there are people who in this world, especially here in the United States, and I'm not trying to get too off track and everything stuff, but we have people who are different skin colors.
Mhm.
We're all human beings. We can mate with each other and stuff and everything, but we have different skin colors. You know, there are people who come from different cultures, different skin colors and stuff, and you know, they are the product of, biracial or multiracial and stuff. And people have found themselves in the crosshair of being, ostracized for being, you know, biracial or multiracial. And it just reminded me of like a real world aspect of what Spock is going through, or he has been through. Because you remember, was it the last episode or the episode before, he mentioned that when he was a young kid, he had a friend, but somewhere down the line, his friend could not play with him because he was half human.
Yeah, I think it was the slot who ate its tail. I think was that episode.
And that just comes back to brings back to the whole thing too, that I could see that it's like there's a little thing they keep bringing that there was something about Spock being half human and stuff, especially in this particular episode, that they really make, and you could tell it really bothers Spock, even though he brushed it off, but he pretended that it did not he did not he did not mind it, but yet he did mind it.
Mm,
That's the human part. Yes, Mo. Absolutely.
absolutely. And say
Absolutely.
I just popped you on Sixer. I don't know if you're going to say anything, but you're just lurking. But appreciate you lurking nonetheless, despite the
Sixer,
being your from
welcome,
the room.
welcome.
He's lurking.
Okay, okay, okay.
But but yeah, Mala, yeah, you made the comment. I was trying to look at my notes where I wrote it down that they actually went there with that. There's like one line in the episode, the human with the inappropriate hair.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and like I said, this was a very comedic and fun
Mm.
type of, in a sense, not fun, but some people may look at it and be like, it was too comedic for Star Trek in certain ways and stuff and everything. I see where they was going with this
Mhm.
to kind of lighten, because there's two more episodes before we get a heavy dark episode coming along.
Well, there's only
But
two left, so
yeah. And we don't know what the season finale is going to be, and how, if it's going to, next episode is going to be a heavy dark episode, or it's going to be a light-hearted episode, because some
yeah,
of the episodes,
yeah,
you know
looking at the screen images, the screen grabs, yeah, it's not gonna be a lighthearted
yeah.
episode. It's gonna be dark.
Okay, so we transitioning from light and everything, but let's talk about the individuals that were transformed by this serum. Was it a serum or injection?
Yeah, it was the same serum that turned Spock back to being Vulcan from when he got turned human earlier on in the series. I think it was
Okay.
last year when he turned into a human from that.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can't remember the details of the episode. I didn't think of looking back at it, but yeah, they beamed away. They left his Vulcan parts behind, and say, "Don't snake when Sam left a dirty cup on the conference room table." Oi, oi, oi! Yeah,
I
he did
remember he
not.
ate a lot of bacon. He ate a lot of bacon.
Oh yes, he say, "Ooh,
I
what
was
this?"
like, the worst kind of meat to eat is bacon. No, no, no. You don't want to. You want to try beef instead of pork. But I know how people like bacon out there. Don't hate me. I'm just not a bacon eater.
Yeah, I do bacon on occasion, and if it is, it's a turkey bacon, but slightly healthier bacon.
Yeah, yeah,
But but,
You know
mala,
what
the
got
worst are
me?
the best.
I love Mala.
We all love
Can you hear
mala.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Can
now.
you guys hear
Yes,
me?
yes, we can hear you, Sixer.
Oh, sorry, I'm using my phone at the moment. Turn my PC off, so
You're
I'm
the
on my
third person
phone.
too, because first we had Zach was on his phone, and then Phil was on his phone, and you were the third
Yeah.
one. So we appreciate you stopping by.
Well, I turned my PC off because I'm in a lot of pain at the moment. So I thought I can't sleep at the moment, so I thought I'd just probably quickly say hello, see how everyone's doing.
We're doing.
So I just said
Appreciate
it was
popping
only.
in nonetheless. Yeah, it's like yeah, Katie's not feeling well. She's dealing with some
Hmm.
pretty nasty migraines and apparently a black eye as well. So she definitely
Ooh.
has a story to share next
Mine's
week.
the ankle. So
Mm.
mine's ankle. Remember, I told you I'm waiting for surgery on that one. So I am in a lot of pain.
And
I'm dosed up on coldable and everything at the moment. So yeah,
it looks
yeah.
like that Travis's responses to Maul is going under my name. Say that
So
wasn't
yeah,
me.
I'm on the
That's the
phone at the moment.
what's that?
So at the moment, I'm using the phone.
It's all good. That's like that just shows that there's multiple ways of joining live in the conversation. So it's like with Sixer on the line, so we still got 7 slots available. We got at least 15 people watching live through StreamYard. So there's plenty of space for people that want to hop in and say hi. But
Absolutely,
going,
and give us a like and subscribe, everybody.
oh
You can
yes,
come and join us live, just like Sixer and stuff, and chat. We enjoy the live participation whenever we are on.
oh yes, and but it's like going back to the early part of the episode, is saying of course the Enterprise was the only ship within range to be able to avert the nuclear calamity in time. Saying so the
As
Vulcans they
always,
could show up, they won't show up in time. Say we're it. So it wouldn't be a Star Trek
it,
episode otherwise.
it just happens to. It's just as always a day. Every one of these episodes is only the Enterprise is always in range. Many of
Hmm.
the others, but it's always the Enterprise.
It's always the Enterprise.
To a planet for shore leave. They was
Hmm.
going to a planet for shore leave. They had a 3-day shore leave. set up, and they had to divert to a planet to keep it from going. Well, bits and pieces of it from nuclear meltdown. But it started off. I didn't think that Way mission was going to go that fast. I mean,
I
it
don't
was
think
like,
anybody did.
I mean, the Joseph, the doctor, he was still in the transporting room with Spock, and Scotty. They was just in the transporting room. It's just like, wait, this reminded me of the episode where Voyager sent the doctor down to the planet that time was moving rapidly and
Yeah, I know
stuff
what
and
you mean.
everything.
Yeah.
And it was just like you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they beamed him back up. It kind of almost reminded me of that because it was so fast. It was like, how did they do this repair in such a quick time and stuff and everything? But let's get back to
Blink of an eye. That was the episode.
the blink of an eye. It gets back to the part where we talk about paleo, where she got the serum, but of course, where she's not human, it didn't work on her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny to watch her just looking at everybody crawling on the floor and stuff and everything. She was like,
Oh.
what did she say? She said something on the line of,
I think she said poop. She's just
well,
like,
she said, look like everybody's having a good time or something. I wish I'd be able to enjoy, what they're experiencing and stuff. I mean, I don't think that's the part where she mentioned taking LSD in the 60s and in the
Mhm.
90s. That
Yeah,
was
and
like,
last
oh,
and
that just
and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
she's like last Tuesday, last Thursday, and it's like, whoa.
I was like, wait. What did she say? Did she just say LSD? Are we gonna have a throwback to
No,
Star Trek 4?
get it right. It's not LSD. It's LDS.
Exactly.
Oh,
And
LD.
Maul's just saying it's just like the LSD in the 60s and the 90s.
Oh, in the
But
90s, it was ecstasy in the 90s.
Mm.
yeah.
It even made a song about called it Ebenezer Good. He's a good. He's a good. Ebenezer's good.
But
It was.
like
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just saying, going back to the early in the episode when when La'an and Una were just small talking, and then Spock wants to join in. It's like, nope. Say we're good, and saying
That episode, well, that particular scene, I should say, it was so funny because they both have some like they both was asking each other very personal questions and stuff and everything, and they were deflecting, and
yeah,
Spock wanted to sit down, but she did not want him to, and then when he went to go sit by himself, it just cracked me up in a
it
sense.
just the little napkin flip, but it's just like, oh.
You'd be like, you wonder about Vulcans. Of course, he's half Vulcan and stuff, but like, their mannerism when it comes to eating. Look, Phil.
Yeah, but
But they're go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we have observed Vulcan mannerism when it comes to eating and stuff and everything,
No.
and it was pretty interesting to
Oh, hey man.
see. Hey, there you are. It was pretty interesting to see, you know, how this kind of spot portrays in that way when he's by himself. It was pretty interesting to see, they got that little thing about like how Ethan Peck, will be if he's not like on like somebody filming him and stuff and everything. But it was a pretty interesting to know in when it comes to that type of walking mannerism, eating by yourself and everything. Because I mean, in on Voyager we seen Tuvok, he eat by himself, but he's kind of stoic when it comes to eating by himself. He has a stoicism and privacy. And then I remember Nidux used to bug the shit out of him and stuff. But it was, I'm not getting too off topic, but that was just kind of interesting to see that. But go ahead, Dave.
I forget what I was going to say now.
I'm so sorry.
Travis is fine. Travis is
One
fine.
ADHD squirrel train gets derailed, but no, there is one. I mean, there's quite a few scenes in this entire episode. It's like peak trek, peak trek, peak trek. And I say that little napkin flip at the beginning, that's like peak trek right there. The bit when Battelle came to Pike's quarters and he was like doing secondary cleaning, and this is where closed captioning can make the scene even more hilarious, because as he's like doing the cleaning, it put little brackets, rhythmic scrubbing.
That I got that impregnant scrubbing. It was like, let's not get too with that said, because we're on Pike and Patel. So he mentioned to her, because in Star Trek lore, we all know this in Star Trek lore, and to anybody who's watching and stuff, Vulcans have a very enhanced sense of smell.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently,
Oh,
we humans can give off a very, unique odor to the Vulcans.
mm-hmm,
And apparently they use a nose numbing spray to, mask our odors and stuff and everything
mm-hmm.
that we give off and stuff. But he was really direct when he mentioned to her about, you know, body odor, not just body odor, but odor in general, about human beings and odor. And I was just thinking about the whole cleaning process, and what he mentioned too about that is just like they're getting ready, because I guess her former commanding officer, who was the Vulcan, was that the Vulcan Judge Advocate General?
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to get her old job back with him and stuff, and it was just hilarious to see that particular scene where he was doing all them cleaning. He had that little vacuum in his hand.
Yeah.
He had that little vacuum and stuff, and she kind of seemed annoyed. He would like just turn it off and be like, what is your deal with all this cleaning and stuff and everything? But I thought it was just hilarious to no end, because they went back to that, and that's another little trope that they go back to is, T'Pol in Star Trek Enterprise. She mentioned that in the first episode, uh, Enterprise, about, we as humans, we give off a unique smell and odor. Even though
What,
we could
what
clean
did
ourselves, we could take showers or whatever stuff and everything else, we
what
can,
did I say? You
you know,
said, all right, I already had a bath. I already had a bath.
we give off a unique smell. The Vulcan, they keep it. They keep it. They don't say pungent, but when Vulcans interpret in Star Trek universe, when they interpret human smell, they just say it's very noticeable. That's how they put it. And I had noticed that, for a long time, that's how they write our smell as humans and Vulcans and stuff and everything. That's a pretty little, throwback to, you know,
Well,
Star Trek lore.
and it's just that's not the only episode that was brought up. The Voyager episode Body and Soul, when Kim and Seven were held, and then Seven inhibited by the doctors, he's like, "What's that smell?" And then it's
Harry Kim,
you.
Harry Kim,
Yeah,
yep, Harry Kim. He said, "I've been working all day. I haven't had a shower and stuff." And then he said, "Well, Seven smells,
like
delicious or whatever
Ruby
it smells."
Rose.
Yeah, so but I was like, okay, you know what? Granted, we humans can give off sometimes pungent smells and stuff and everything, but that don't mean that we don't take showers and baths and stuff and everything else. But I guess even though we clean ourselves, Vulcans' nose are really sensitive. You would think both the male and female, but I guess females have a more heightened sense of smell when it comes to their senses and stuff. The males can smell too and everything, but I guess Vulcan females are more sensitive to our smells and stuff. But it's a little trope I said. I like that about this particular episode because it's like, y'all going back to that. Okay. Okay. And then the whole cleaning thing too, cleaning up the area and stuff and everything. And I was like, is this really
Yeah,
happening?
sure. And there's like two big callbacks to like previous seasons, previous episodes, like previous series. Is that the first one is saying when Chapel she's doing all this multitasking in the science lab and all that, and she's like eye protection, and then there's an explosion. Say totally from season two, those old scientists from Strange New Worlds when Boimler and Spock were trying to get that
Create the
Heronium.
yeah, I know what you mean, to get the portal going.
Yeah, to get the portal,
Okay.
the field for the portal again,
Type
just
of
eye protection, then explosion.
That's goofy smile when after that pun saying, "Do you feel lucky, Boomler?" Boomler. And that
That's
goofy
good.
smile at the end. But I must admit, even that freaked me out.
Yeah, but then there was later on in that episode they're talking about the changing the rotation every 42 minutes with 5 minute
Was
break,
crazy.
but with 5 minute break intervals. 42 plus 5 is 47. There's your 47 reference for that episode.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay. That
want
47.
something.
Come on, Dave.
Hey.
Okay.
You've lost me.
But another big thing that I picked up on, which may rear its ugly head later on, either the last two episodes of this season or next season, is when out of the four crew members that transform into Vulcans, La'an had the worst reaction because all her augment ideologies and beliefs is just like she wanted war. She wanted to have one alien, the Orions fighting the Tholians and the
The
Tholians and all that, just
Klingons.
like in yeah,
She
she
turned
and
into
the
Khan, didn't
Klingons.
she?
What's that?
She turned into Khan.
Well, she's a descendant of Khan.
I know she's a descendant of Khan, but I say she turned into Khan. Yeah, she went all Khan.
She was starting to exhibit those homicidal tendencies.
Yeah.
And saying,
Yeah. She started thinking very militaristically when it comes to, her changing into Vulcan because, um Vulcans learn, as we talked about, with Phil, Vulcans, in a sense, they learn early to try to suppress their emotions because we know that a Vulcan without suppressed emotions can be very dangerous. They
Mm.
can, not a passionate Vulcan, but a Vulcan who basically loses their, ability to keep their emotions in check. We've seen that in season two.
Yes.
We've seen that in season two of Star Trek uh, Voyager when one of the crew members killed another crew member, and Tuvok tried to find out why, and the doctor basically turned off his emotional suppressant, and then Tuvok literally almost went homicidal. He wanted to kill and stuff and everything.
Should have,
And
wouldn't it?
the Vulcans, by
Vincent
definition, have
should have.
a very hostile trait with their emotional being and stuff and everything. Now, couple that with in this particular episode, human beings who learn to control their emotions in a sense, who we don't suppress our emotion, but we don't act upon them most of the time, end up getting a Vulcan way of understanding the world or the universe as a Vulcan was the seed. And it brings them into a perspective of, oh my God, you know, I could never thought how it is to be a Vulcan because I spent my, I'm a human being, but now that I am a Vulcan because of some medical, some not medical, but some sort of way of changing the human being into a pure Vulcan and stuff. Not so much pure, but like almost a pure Vulcan. you get an understanding of walking, as they say, as the old saying go, until you understand somebody, you need to walk in their shoes first.
Walk a
And
mile in
these
their
human
shoes. Yep.
beings, and these human beings walked in Vulcan shoes to understand what Vulcans. But in Lanan's case, she had those like she was a little different than that. And even when and we didn't bring it up yet, but
Well, Borg went DNA,
James
wasn't it?
Kirk beamed aboard. James Kirk beamed aboard because the Farragut was still under repairs and stuff, and he wanted to spend time with his brother, but his brother was already gone on shore leave. It was kind of interesting to see him and Scotty interact with each other. And then
Mhm.
they interacted with Lanan. I'm glad they kept an eye on Lanan because it was like there was something up with her. And even Kirk kind of seen that. It was like, wait, what are you talking about? You and it was one of those things where what's going on with these people? What is going on and everything else. And it makes you wonder too, just if not saying this, but we talking in Star Trek and we talking, the Star Trek world and everything else. My goodness, if Vulcans actually existed for us and stuff and everything else, it would be almost really hard to interact with a species like them based on how we seen other Vulcans act and stuff and everything else because there's smugness, arrogant, I mean, they are intelligent and stuff and everything, and they will quickly tell you, how intelligent they are compared to you and stuff. And Dave, don't forget about the little meeting they had in Pelio's quarters.
Oh yes, that I wrote that down. It's we're not conspiring, we're lightly plotting.
Mhm.
I like how they met in her quarters
Yeah.
because what they say, her quarters is basically off the grid.
Mhm.
It's off the grid of the ship. And it started thinking to me, I'm like, okay, this lady has lived for a long time and she used to work off the grid of the ship. And it's like that kind of remind me. I wish Tyson was here so I could mention this, but that kind of threw me back a loop where here in the US, I don't know if anybody here who's in the US and stuff, but watching, there was a guy named Ted Kaczynski. He was a genius. He went to Harvard
Well, he was crazy.
and
Crazy genius.
he was basically known for many, many years as the Unabomber. He sent bombs through the mail from 1978 all the way till he got caught in
Early
the
90s, I want to say.
I think it was the mid 90s, 95, 96, something like that. His own
Nearly
brother
three
turned him
decades.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, he lived just make a real quick story in the comparison. He lived off in the woods or somewhere in Montana. He hated technology apparently from what years later that they tried to divulge about his manifesto and stuff. He had an anti-technology way about him. He lived off grid. He was a recluse and stuff and everything else, but he was a genius. He was very smart and stuff like that, but he spent many years and sending bombs all over the US through the mail and stuff and everything. Some people got hurt and some people did die, but they finally caught up with him because of his brother and stuff. That kind of reminded me. I was like, you know what? When she mentioned off grid, it just threw me back to like, oh my goodness. The first time I ever heard of that term of technology, that term stuff was Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. And that just threw me. I'm like, I could see her being something not that mental way, but her wanting to keep her privacy very private
Yeah,
and like
they
not being part of the grid that we used to.
yeah, April the 3rd, 1996 in Lincoln, Montana. So it's kind of way up there in the continent. It's just due east of Missoula, kind of in between Missoula and Great Falls, equidistant
And you
way.
will know that because that's where you're familiar with that part of our country and stuff and everything. So
Well,
yeah, it was a nice. I remember.
not only that, Google's an amazing thing too. So
The amazing wonder of the World Wide Web. You know,
But yeah, I mean, if you want off the grid, Central Montana, I mean, hello, Bozeman, Montana, that's where First Contact initiated in Star Trek. So, but that's a little further southwest of there.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to drop out, guys. You take care.
You too, Sixer. Take
alrighty,
care.
you take care and be safe, Sixer. Thank you for
Cheers,
joining us
Yeah,
for the
sleep.
time being.
Try and get some sleep.
Yes,
Try.
my friend.
Take care, bye.
Right.
Take care.
But yeah, so there's definitely that, and a couple of the other B plots. I think out of we talked about La'an not taking the Vulcan transition very well. Uhura was the one that just essentially winged it the best. I mean, she even though she was very logical and stuff, she freaking mind melded with Beta, which Erica did not take that well at all.
No, no. She called it brainwashing. She
Yes,
called it brainwashing because I guess
I say you
in the beginning.
brainwashed him like a brainwashed him like a Vulcan lapdog is her exact words.
That's her exact words. Brainwash him like a Vulcan lapdog. It's like, okay,
Yeah, but
if
whoever's a lapdog is more compliant.
I I was like, oh wow, this episode got some funny little little liners in there and stuff and everything. But it's like I noticed something that was something different about him after they was in uh I don't want to call it a bar, but what is that place called?
Well, it was the bar. It was there.
It was a bar. Okay.
It was the 23rd century 10 forward.
Okay, when they was in there, you could tell, he was himself. But then, whenever they, cut to a different scene and stuff like that, and then they brought him back for another scene, you could tell there was something really odd about him.
Yeah,
First thing I said, oh, she done mind meld with him. That's the first thing I said because he didn't sound right. I was
yeah,
like, that just didn't sound right.
yeah.
And
But
I'm
it's
thinking,
just like
first of all,
they're drinking in unison. It's just like, oh, something ain't right there.
no, it's not right, but okay, this is kind of thing too about that particular scene, and I mean, I'm just nitpicking it, and I guess other people will see too. I don't want to sound like I'm very nitpicky at little things and stuff, but I noticed this. So Vulcans have to be trained to mind meld. They can do it, but an untrained melder
Mhm.
can do harm to both themselves and the individual.
Yeah, and the Enterprise actually touched base on that when that one Vulcan melded with T'Pol. They weren't like fully like trained on how to do it right, and she was suffering some side effects from that.
And that's getting back to Enterprise when they was in the fourth season where they was Picard, not Picard, but Archer was on Vulcan and
Mhm.
Tucker took the Enterprise to Andorian to warn them about the Vulcans, was planning an invasion. Well, he had Sarek's Katra inside his mind and stuff and everything
Mm.
else. So he learned. He
Not
said
Sarek, Sirach.
Sirach.
Mhm.
He learned I guess he learned something from Sirach about his about mind melding and stuff and everything
Mhm.
else. So that actually came into play when the episode where Dr. Phlox ended up getting kidnapped about the augment and stuff about the Klingons, basically trying to, perfect augments themselves and stuff. So I remember uh Hoshi was with Dr. Phlox, but she got knocked out, but she overheard what they said, but she couldn't remember. And Archer said to Paul, a good way of retrieving those, memories is to do a mind meld. And he kind of walked her through it in a sense, even though he was human, he learned from, Sirach about how to mind meld properly, even though she never done it before. Under his guidance, she was able to mind meld for the first time with no training. Now, let's go back to this episode. You know, Uhura didn't have no training.
Mm-mm.
Yes, she had, Vulcan, stuff like that and whatnot, but that kind of threw me for a loop in the sense where, Vulcans are trained into mind meld, but yet they just bypass everything and just be like, oh yeah, let's just go ahead
Yeah.
and just like, these novice humans that got transformed into Vulcans. It's like, and that's where I said when I seen Beto, he's basically a Vulcan lapdog. I was like,
Yeah.
how does she pull that off? She has no training in, I mean, she's a communication expert and stuff and everything,
Mhm.
but just because you get turned into a Vulcan doesn't mean that you actually understand, the Vulcan way, especially the mind meld. But just me throwing out the little trope. I know others probably
Yeah.
will, disagree with me and stuff like that. Fine. I appreciate that and everything. But that's just another little thing that I was like, kind of like roll my eyes like, whatever. Just
So, yeah,
oh,
but even though they didn't really like talk about it, but Doug, say Patton Oswalt, I mean, he does a great job as a Vulcan, but I mean, he is definitely the atypical Vulcan from everybody else in that episode, and pretty much the only other Vulcan that had the same mannerisms as he does would would be Spock's brother Cybok. I mean, he's got the full range of emotion. He doesn't suppress his emotions. I mean, he is just like it oogling and just if the camera was any closer, he'd be drooling over Una as soon as they appeared. And then there's another tie-in with Voyager, that episode that Live Fast and Prosper, when they were trying to track down Gomer and say one of his wives say, you after Gomer, aren't you? It's like, no, I have a husband. And grabs Tuvok. Janeway grabs Tuvok. So kind of like the same thing with Una and Spock in this episode.
set Spock up. She didn't even prepare her. She said, just go with it. And
Oh
she
yeah,
just
it's like
literally,
that Tuvok wasn't prepared for what Janeway came up with. It was just like seat in the pants.
Vulcans do not improvise and stuff. It's
No.
like, they're not, of course, they basically, they tell the truth and everything, but like to improvise, to come up with something randomly off script and stuff and everything, it's not for them and stuff, because you saw how shocked, in a sense, Spock was when she said, he's married to me, this is my husband. And for the longest time they went on with the lie.
Mhm.
And then, eventually he basically, Doug
Yeah, Doug just
basically said,
sniffed it out. She's like, "You're not married."
yeah, yeah. And once him and Spock sit down and talk and stuff, you were like, wait, you are a different Vulcan. Your sister name is Sarah? Because I guess he said his parents was fascinated by
Human names.
human names. So we got you got this Vulcan who has a name, Doug. And it was pretty funny watching him and Spot, because Spot wanted to know about the Contra. And he wanted, to understand. And you could see, in a sense, you could see in, from Spot when he asked him, you being half human gives me a way of experiencing what I have always wanted to understand about humans and stuff and everything else. Can you teach me, about your half human part? I understand the Vulcan part, but like the human part, because he was fascinated by the about a human part and everything. And just watching them interact. Whoever didn't see this episode, who not seen the episode and stuff, and who's watching, go back and watch it. It is pretty interesting to see, them two interact, Patton Oswalt and Ethan Peck, um, talking to each other when about being human. And this is the Vulcan that was interested. He wasn't like, because Spock faces prejudice among people, but this is one of the first Vulcans for him. An adult Vulcan who never showed prejudice. He actually was wanting to know more about his human side and stuff and everything else. And you could tell that Spock was like, Okay, I get it. But he didn't show it like the way we would see it and everything else. But it's like, he would teach him what he knows about being human and stuff. And it was just like, because they was taking jabs at him earlier in the episode
Oh
about him
yeah,
being that.
absolutely. And it definitely shows that uncomfortability of like Spock being like half human. Here's like these four people, they've been Vulcan for 5 minutes and they're more Vulcan than he's been his entire life.
Oh my goodness. And I mean, and they use like logic to score, I don't want to call it a point over, but like they use logic in a way that Spock didn't even think about. Like, technically that's logical. I mean, he didn't even think about that and stuff. But Spock kind of seemed a little defeated, and I was like, oh boy, they really went out all out with taking jabs at him being
Mm.
you know uh mixed race
Yeah.
in a sense.
But Spock has a big lurpa.
Goodness, a big lurper. I forgot about that. A big lurper.
That was one of the things I wrote down there. They talk about lurpas, and it's like, oh god, they go, he's got a big lurpa. It's like, yeah, giggity giggity goo.
Where's Tyson? Oh man, it's like Tyson, and when it was like, oh man, is that what we calling it now? You know.
It is what it is. Say,
Oh boy.
humans have big Johnsons. Vulcans have big lurpas.
Oh boy. It's like I love I love it. I love the innuendo.
Mm.
The come up with the innuendo and stuff and everything. It's like, wait, where do you? Oh, okay, I get it. Oh goodness,
But yeah, my
but
brain's jumping all around my notes right now. But we were talking about the Uhura and Beto drinking, and when Erica was talking to them, and then when they both left, she's like, "What the hell is that?" She's like genuinely confused. I don't think it clicked right away that they may have mind melded,
no,
but.
she was actually stumped. You could tell she was like, "What the hell?" I mean, she was just like, I'm like, "Come on, Erica, you fly a starship.
Mm,
Come on, you got to be quicker on that." I mean, the way your brother's acting, and he's sitting next to a Vulcan, she
mm.
mind melded with him to fit him in her mold of image and stuff and everything else. It's like, I guess you could say there were some irks about Beto that Uhura had before she became a Vulcan. And when she became a Vulcan, she was like, I'm a Vulcan now. I think I can fix those little irks that annoyed her. Even though she as a human, she didn't. She just kind of looked over it and it was just like, come on now.
See, we're starting to run out of things to talk about, guys. So if you're feeling bold enough to click that link to join the live conversation, please don't hesitate to do so. We'd love to hear from you. Love to get your 2 cents. But
Absolutely.
one thing I gotta say, we see cetacean ops in live action for the first time ever in Star Trek. We've seen it in Lower
Notice
Deck.
that.
We saw it in Lower Decks. That's animated, but this is like first live action cetacean ops in the Trek franchise.
When they all changed back, they was able to get them to change because they basically said, they can't force them to change back. They have to wanting to change back to humans and stuff due to being a human and everything. And Lana was the last person,
Yeah, the
and she was
the cheese factory, the choreography, and that those last few minutes is like I was like, oh my god, it's like yeah, exactly.
sorry, I was like, what am I watching? I was just like, what is this? What? I'm just like, is this really happening? I'm like, I know they danced. I mean, they practiced dancing, but really they. I mean, anybody who watched this episode seen that particular scene. You may like it, and stuff like, oh, that's cute and everything else and stuff, but you just kind of, I mean, from my perspective, I'm sitting there like, kind of, you know, cringing like, ugh, like they could have done something other than the dance routine, the fighting type dance choreography,
Well,
like,
I mean, the choreography was cheesy. The cinematography was on point because 1 minute they're in citation ops, then they're on the bridge, and then as they're moving along, this like bam, they're in different part of the ship. Bam, bad say damn, bam, and then
ah,
they circle back to citation ops when things started to settle down.
let's not get for this before we get into like, kind of to the end where Scotty and Kirk,
Yeah, I
the
get
whole
that.
thing, it, it was kind of funny, the Scotty and Kirk thing, where she threatened to kill him. She threatened to kill Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah, so
and
you're right, Mala. But but the way the setup was real, but of course the fact that Scotty left Kirk out of the loop and Kirk got a right across the chin there. It's just like you say you didn't know that you were doing, did you? But the fact that before that scene when the two of them were walking the hall trying to figure out what to deal with La'an, another little pretty trying to think of the word foreshadowing for what happens in the original series is like Scotty's apprehensions towards poltergeists.
oh my goodness,
Wolf in the
oh
Fold.
oh my
It's
goodness, I
like,
forgot about that.
yeah, Katie would be just like, "Oh, Dave, of course you had to mention that." But it's like I was right. It's like, "Oh yeah," so it's like it's not the first time Scotty's encountered a poltergeist. This is the first time that we've seen it canon wise, but timeline wise, not canon wise, but yes, and so Scotty has a true apprehension towards the paranormal.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very, very, very much that you know, he comes from Scotland, and Scotland has
Yeah,
a very superstition culture about them and stuff, and the
yeah, it's
Scottish people
just
and
like
everything, and
say a certain Next Generation episode comes to mind.
ha, 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 I know what you mean. I
Oh,
know
say
what you
poor
mean.
Hugo, he's missing out on his ghostly giggity going on with that episode.
Yeah, it's funny, Scotty. I don't know how he did it, but when she asked about how to about what was it, the warp core?
Yep.
What was it? She asked about the warp.
Thank you. I was blanking on the name. I'll appreciate it.
She would
Sub Rosa.
she asked about the warp core. When she went to hit the button, she got the hell shocked out of her.
Oh, I saw that coming a mile away. And say as soon as she started to go, she's gonna get shocked. That's Mhm.
Oh boy, I mean, he really laid it to her when I was like, I hope it wasn't a big shock.
Well,
I mean, it was something enough to knock her out.
not to knock her out, but when they showed panned out the camera, she was twitching on the floor a little bit while she was unconscious, so she definitely got a nice jolt to her system. But unfortunately, though, we didn't get to see the transformation back. So I guess A, it gave enough time for the post credit scene, but B also got to give a lot of resolution to the episode. There's one bit that I wrote on here. Um, and La'an was sitting with Una. So it just kind of went full circle since La'an and Una started off the episode with drinks. They ended the episode with drinks. And she's saying, sorry for almost starting a war, blah, blah, blah. And and Una's like, well, and I think she also apologized for hitting Kirk and say, "Well, don't let it happen again unless Kirk deserves it."
Yes, and you saw him and Scotty sitting at the bar,
Yeah,
and he's kind of nursing his wounds. It's like you didn't go to
with a
see me to
glass of
get that
scotch.
fixed.
Yeah, I'm saying it's like I
And
think
it kind of foreshadowed that he was like Kirk is taking a liking to
Scotty.
Scotty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I said,
It, it,
like I said, Enterprise was the first starship that he was chief engineer. So they're laying the seeds.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They are laying the seeds and stuff. And, I mean, we got some of the characters that we know of, but like some of these characters are like new characters, but like we got a Chekhov, most likely Chekhov. Somebody gonna play Chekhov come along, and then number 40.
Probably not for a while. I think Chekhov is still a little too young to be be on a starship just
Was
yet.
yeah, he was kind of young, and during that time, you could say, yeah, yeah.
You think Scotty's taking place of Carol there, Mala? But
Oh,
we
you want to talk
kind
about
of
the post credit scene?
well before we do that, we figured out why La'an and Spock are starting to get awkward. Socks.
That's right.
And I wrote my exact words. The oddness between La'an and Spock are socks. Socks.
It's like really. Yeah, what's that sock? Was that socks in her drawer?
Socks in her drawer. Yep, he put his socks in her drawer, and they're clean socks, not dirty socks. They're clean
Yeah,
socks.
yeah. That's something. It's like, wow. She admitted why socks.
Mm. That they kind of separate because that
Okay,
is an
okay.
in that is a really interesting theory there, Mala.
That is.
It's
That
like,
is. Thank you, Mala. Okay.
mm,
Oh wow. Man, that's something to think about.
yes,
Wow.
but yeah, that stuff at the end of the credits with Spock and Doug, that was cringeworthy yet hilarious at the same time. I want to say.
Well, so the first joke started out. Did you write that down? The first joke.
I did not, unfortunately, because I was laughing and groaning so hard at it, and I was hungry, and I had to cook food, and
If anybody, I mean, I'm gonna go by this, but the one part that really got us, I'm gonna mention that here in a moment. You know, they talked about presents day. That was the thing. He was talking about birthday presents.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
And he was saying
and
about the
cake.
birthday, about presents and stuff and cakes and stuff. He was like, Doug was just surprised about they really do that? Is that what humans really do? And Spock was like, yes, indeed. Candles, cake, stuff like that, presents. And Doug was just shocked about that. And then the next setup to the next, you know, not joke, but you know, I guess Spock's observation about human beings. And this is to make everybody laugh. I don't know if spoilers, put that update, spoiler alert,
Well,
post credit scene, spoiler alert.
at this point, anyone's like spoilers. It's. I mean, if they haven't watched
So
it by now, then they
eh,
can
eh,
stop. They can stop. If you don't want to hear anything, stop right now. Come back to us after you've watched those end credits.
Spock pointed his finger at Doug and told Doug,
Pull
pull
my
my
finger.
finger. And Doug said, what for? Or did he say what for?
I think so. Yeah.
He said what for or something. And then when Doug pulled his finger, Spock said,
And then you flatulate.
yes. I fell out laughing. I fell out laughing. The way he robotically said, pull my finger to Doug, and Doug pulled his finger. Then he said, "You flatulate now." I was like, I was like, what? I was like, I was like, if just for the sake of argument, if Vulcans were real, what will a Vulcan flatulation will sound like?
I think
I,
that
I, I thought I was
well,
like, what will a Klingon flatulation sound like? What will a
I would say that
Cardassian or Romulan?
the a Klingon flatulated probably sounds like a freaking trombone. See, a Vulcan and a Romulan, oh, clarinet. I don't know.
I mean, it's like you just it started going through my head when I heard that. I was like, you know what? A Vulcan flatulates. Okay, that will actually be hilarious to actually hear. To actually hear it and stuff and everything else, and for them to even actually, when he said flatulate or flatulation and whatever,
Mm.
for a moment I thought Doug was going to say, "What is that?" I almost thought he was going to say, "What is that?" I really thought he was going to say that, but then he didn't go that way. I thought, and stuff because when that set up of that line, I was like, "Is he know what he's going to say?" He didn't. And I was like, and I guess Doug knew what it meant, but it was still fun. It was just still funny and stuff and everything. I thought I thought it was hilarious because that had me rolling and stuff and everything.
Let me ask you this: do Breen flatulate? Do they fart?
Oh
Because
man, and their refrigeration
if
suit.
they exactly, do they is there like a what is it, provitic vent that kind of like releases the gas? Because I mean, if they break wind in one of those suits, they're going to knock themselves out.
I was thinking, speaking of that thing, I was thinking,
So when we talk about alien farts on this episode, anything goes with technically trapped.
was goes to us do well. We know Borg wouldn't because they don't eat sustenance food like
Hmm.
what biological creatures do and stuff. But the question is, these aliens in Star Trek, Star Trek, universe and stuff, do their flatulence smell?
Mm.
And if it did, their, their digestive tract,
Hmm.
that digestive tract, it wouldn't be similar to human beings and stuff and everything else. It's like, you can hear it, but do they, emit, aromas, smells and
Hmm.
stuff and everything else? It's like, each species are different and stuff like that. Like a Vulcan, they're similar to humans, but they're different, and stuff. It's like I just sit here just thinking, all the species that we could think about in Star Trek and stuff, it's like, flatulations.
Hmm.
It's like, oh my goodness. What would be the funniest sound coming from one of the species that we would crack up the most? And then I'm scared. I can't think of anything about like the Vulcans, Klingons, or Ferengis. You know, to me, it would be so funny hearing them because of the of what we know about their culture and stuff and everything else. And we know Klingon, they get drunk, they belch loud and stuff. But the term flatulation has never really been ever said in Star Trek. I have never heard of flatulations in Star Trek whatsoever and stuff, especially among alien species.
Hmm.
I've never heard it until this particular end credit scene about the joke about pull my finger. Why would I want to do that? And he pulled his finger. You flatulate or something like.
Yeah.
Oh, but yes, that is absolutely funny about that and everything. They went on to say, I forgot the other little jokes that, well,
Well,
not jokes, but the other little things.
Spock was trying to teach Doug to use contractions.
Yes. Watching that particular,
It is illogical. It's illogical. It is.
and he was struggling. It was so funny to see him struggling to try to use contractions and stuff and everything. Because, you know,
Was that a dig
the
on
only other,
Data? Maybe a little. Just
exactly. This is what I was thinking. I was
coach.
like, wait. And we have heard Data, kind of use a contraction and stuff. There have been times that people go like, oh, he used a contraction, but his basic programming was he used proper grammar.
Hmm.
He used proper grammar into talk and stuff.
The fart monster.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, could you imagine like being on the bridge of the Enterprise and everybody at the control stations and stuff, and all of a sudden you hear somebody just, I mean, you got the noises of of the bridge and stuff and everything, but somebody had one of those loud trombones or something, or
or
eh,
well, there is an episode. Someone dubbed it over. It's the Price from Next Generation. The end of that episode when Troy stands up and she's getting her empathic abilities back after they escaped certain deaths, and she's just like r- she's putting her hand up, she's ripping it, and she's just like just fart after fart after fart after fart. And just like, oh, and of course Riker's just standing there smiling and just
they have environmental controls and stuff like that. It's like, how
yeah,
do you,
environmental
you
controls
if
can
you don't?
only do so much in that case.
It's like, how do you disperse the gas? It's like, how do you how one on the bridge of the ship disperse the gas? Or better yet, let's think about
No,
this.
no, it wasn't Price. That's the wrong episode. I'm blanking on the name of the episode all of a sudden. You go on.
What
I'm
about
gonna
this?
look it up really quick.
Gloss for our
Gloss.
viewers. What about, yes? That's the one. That's the one. Because I was like,
I did that part right.
what about this? You remember Harry and Seven and a doctor stuck in the Delta Flyer and
Hmm.
stuff and everything else? Imagine being stuck in a shuttlecraft, like the shuttlecraft with somebody else and stuff.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, or a runabout or something. Of course, you could walk away. Runabout, you could walk away like to the back or something like that. But most people, yeah, most humans just let it go. Some people are more courteous, and they don't want to do it in front of somebody else and stuff, and then they'll walk away and whatnot, or they don't want nobody to know that they do it and stuff. But you know, having to work with somebody not on a bridge or ship, but like in the shuttle or shuttle pod or something in the close confined space, and you know, stuff just happened, just started ripping out. Wish Manu was with us right now, Manu and Tyson, to talk about this, because they would actually go crazy about this particular subject and stuff and everything. I know we've been talking about it for just quite a bit,
Mm.
but it just makes you wonder in the closed and confined spaces and stuff and everything else, and you working with somebody in a close and confined space, especially if you're on a starship and stuff. It's like somebody's at the tactical station, and you just hear somebody just rip one. Do the people on the bridge acknowledge it, or just let it go and not make a joke, or just join in and somebody else rip one? I'm just throwing that out to everybody.
Saying it was only a matter of time before this show ended up delving into fart jokes. So
It's pretty funny.
the
The post credit scene was pretty funny, especially when it comes to the birthday. About the birthday cake and putting candles and opening presents, but then the fart thing really got threw me for a loop. Like, pull my finger. I was like, oh no, they're not going with this. They not really going. And then I swear, and I don't know if anybody else thought it, but I swear Spock was going to flatulate.
I was wondering
I
the
thought he
same
was going to.
thing.
I thought he was going to, but he actually said it. It was just an expression of saying it and everything else and stuff. It's like he's half human, but he don't understand, when somebody say that, there's something intend to happen and stuff, but apparently nothing happened. He just said it. And poor Doug, he looked so confused. He was like, "What? What is it?" But yeah.
Yeah, insane. So next week we're the penultimate episode of season 3 is we're going to talk a terrarium, which is going to be an Ortegas heavy episode. Which the only premise is, if I get it pulled back up here again, or spoiler alert, Katie. Spoiler alert. Plug your ears if you're watching. Ortegas crash lands on a deadly toxic mood where the chances of survival are slim to none. She finds herself stranded and forced to challenge her mostly held beliefs in order to survive. So it's taken a little bit of time, but we're finally getting some good Ortegas episodes. And yeah, I don't know where.
Wonder in the early of this season where we saw her staring out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's going to come back and play.
I'm I think it's going to as well. Uh, But yeah, saying so. Yeah, say they seem to just push that under the rug. I mean, she's dealing with PTSD, and she gets called out on it on the bridge, and then they kind of just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they revisit that, or at least with some of the stuff that plays along in her head while she's trying to survive on the planet there. But I want to end this on two fun notes. Saying I found that meme that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, oh yes.
Yeah, but let's see what's yeah, smart jokes will never not be funny. Yes, but
Especially in the
there's
world of Star Trek.
oh, absolutely, it's the last place you would expect a fart joke, but yeah, I don't think she's going to be going on any away missions in the near future after that one either. Well, but we'll find out next week. But there was this joke that I came that Corin Nemec from Stargate SG-1 posted on his Twitter a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, but just a few days ago. And it actually kind of goes along the lines with my AA a little bit. Is saying that this mushroom walks into a bar, goes up to the bartender and orders a beer, and the bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve your kind here." And he said, "What do you mean? I'm a fun guy." Uh, tickets are just a little delay going on there. Oh, you're cutting out there, man. You're cutting out for a second.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now? Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
What did
Sorry,
you say?
I just said a delay there for a moment. I had to think about real quick what you said, and then I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a fun guy.
Mala was
Fun
laughing
guy.
too.
Yeah. Saying I gotta take care of some quick business and say got a house meeting to get ready for. So until next week, everybody, may Spock be with you. See you next week.